Okay, there were 39 bodies found in the truck. Likely those dead bodies are Chinese. It's been found somewhere in the United Kingdom. United Kingdom police are already transferring the lorry trailer to somewhere safe, and they're going to do more checks and investigations to find more details and give people the whole story, what's possibly happened in this tragedy. And those dead people, the driver of this lorry truck, her name is, we don't need to tell her name because the UK police have not decided if this driver got involved in this crime. And this is from the New York Times. I have no subscription, so I cannot read the whole story. And here we can see the truck. Here is the truck in its original location where it's been found, the dead body, 39 dead body. This video is from VOA News. It should be trustable. And UK police surrounded this place around this truck. Okay, this is VOA video on YouTube. You can view it. Let's see those dead bodies being shot as Chinese. Why we need to respect those dead bodies? You can see some people, Hongkongers, they got terribly beaten up in recent protests. They got a lot bad experience from the mainland China, especially from CCP and from those 50 cents bots from China Network Internet Army. And they experienced terrible experience in recent months during those protesting, and the prolonged protesting. Some people said it's over. It's entered the 5th month, but as long as I know, it's start from the March, from very early stage when the chief executive of Hong Kong tried to push ahead his plan to get the extradition bill get passed, but then people fight back and a lot protesting against this extradition bill, and then it turned out to be Hong Kong people want human rights, want democracy, want democracy, a democratic system. They have 5 demands. For example, the total withdrawal of the extradition bill, and they want to get rid of the name as rioters, and they don't want their protesting be named as a riot. They want independent committee to check into the police brutality, because those popos, those bad policemen in Hong Kong being called popos, treat people so badly. They beat people hard with batons, tear gas, rubber bullet, and some terrible, evil method applied on Hong Kong people. Some people performed suicide. Some people lost their life and suffered a lot. 3,000 get arrested. So people in this group, a lot of them are protesters. They really get enough about those bad treatment, sometimes like animals, so they cannot help to celebrate when they found 39 people, might be mainland Chinese, got dead, and found their dead body inside a refrigerated container. This container is refrigerated. I don't want to show the whole video. Show you this container. It's a refrigerated container. It means it's air conditioned inside. So if you can see, it has enough space. It's big enough and have enough space. This is some inspectors. They checking the condition. So this container is a full-length container. It's inside it should have enough space, but because it's air-conditioned, it's supposed to carry fresh food, something like that, meat. And so those people might died from hyperthermal effects. If normal people being dropped into water at 4 degree of 4 degree, different from the percentage 4 degree, it's a little bit above the frozen degree 0, a little bit above the 0, and 100 degree should be the boiling degree, when water get boiler, inside boiler get boiling. Okay, so 4 degree temperature in water, it use 4 minutes to kill a strong, physically strong man in 4 minutes. So because we don't know the setting of this air-conditioned refrigerated container, so we don't know how long they suffered, if they have enough air, if they have enough clothes. And but at the end of this, at the beginning of this story, we know that 39 bodies, dead bodies, found in truck. They are likely Chinese. And let's go ahead to talk about why we human beings respect those dead bodies, and something about Hong Kong, the history. This woman, her name is Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher. He once been British Prime Minister. He's a tough woman. He's one of tough women in political. He's been called using iron hand on political issues, problems, and he's a very hard player in British history. And it's during his administration that he returned Hong Kong. He went to see then China's leader Deng Xiaoping and make a arrangement about how to hand over Hong Kong, and decide on the deal. Return Hong Kong back to China, hand over. And during his prime minister, work as prime minister for British people. Before him, you know, the World War II prime minister is Winston Churchill. Why Churchill didn't hand back Hong Kong to then during the end of World War II, 1944, the year of 1944, why Winston Churchill didn't hand back Hong Kong to then China leader President Chiang Kai-shek, the KMT party leader and then China leader, because they have different history condition. Winston Churchill just won the Second World War together with the USA, American Army, and Then President Jiang has at least 3 enemies if he got the British army as his enemy. Work against him. He got the Japanese army. It still didn't surrender during 1944, and he got CCP somewhere here, looking for chance to attack him. And if he got the British, just the country just winning, the United Kingdom just winning the Second World War, it's hard for President Jiang to handle. So what if British collect some money or some army from India, or from British send it to South China Sea? Kuomintang can hardly play against the British in same time when they facing Japanese army. So this is why Winston Churchill said, people know that what he said, if you want to get back Hong Kong, you get it over my dead body. So Hong Kong keep in British hand. And when Margaret Thatcher became the Prime Minister, the situation is different. We know that British people and American people, British Prime Minister and US President make some deal during the World War II over Atlantic Ocean. I believe Atlantic something agreement, they call it onboard battleship, and they decide how to deal with the traditional colony system. Basically, you can read the history. It should be 1941 or 1942. They already settled it down how to get to do with the colonial system, British colonial system. And basically, local people did their own local things. So Australia, Canada, and India got their independent and democratic political system. Why not Hong Kong? You should know that geographically Hong Kong is connected to the mainland. It's different from all the others, India, Australia, and Canada. Basically, how can you set up a political system on board of China that controlled by CCP? And you should know that during 1950s and 1960, you should know 1967, 1968, there some rebellion in Hong Kong, actually controlled by China, CCP. It's far more worse, and it's protesting. It got bombs in Hong Kong City. It got bombs exploded in Hong Kong City. And even in 70s and 80s, Hong Kong actually worked as a refugee camp, allowed to mainland China. They cross border into Hong Kong, turned Hong Kong actually 1 million people. Those days, 1 million people got double Hong Kong's population. So Hong Kong is actually a refugee camp. So how can you set up the democratic political system to let people focus on those political things, how to choose their own leader among half population is the old colonies citizen, half population is those freshly became Hong Kong citizen? How can you set it up? It's a history problem. And let's talk it a little bit back to 1844, when the first Opium War that bring Hong Kong to British hand. When British Empire Navy won the battle against the Qing Dynasty 100 years before the Second World War, 1944, back to 1844, about one century, 100 years. when British Empire get the Hong Kong island, at first they get island only in the island, and then after the Opium War, maybe several years after that, they won another battle and they won more. They get the new territories, and it's Kowloon Town and the north of Kowloon Town to the border. Currently, border is Shenzhen River as a border river. So it's when and how British Empire get Hong Kong and get use it as a colony and develop it as a city, a modern port, and how history turned out when Thatcher, let's read her name correctly, Thatcher, why he didn't say the same thing as Winston Churchill? If you want Hong Kong back, take it over my dead body. Why these tough women didn't say the same thing as Winston Churchill? Because he's different from Winston Churchill and he got different condition in 1980s. In 1980s, Japanese army long ago had retreated to Japan, and the British got even weaker than they were at World War II. And CCP-PRA, the army, the China army, actually has no opponents around Hong Kong. They can attack Hong Kong anytime. But let's refer that you already know Hong Kong got island and new territory. So why British didn't split as two different deals? Because the Hong Kong is won by the Opium War, and the new territory is arranged after another war as rental release, something like that. Why they didn't split as two different? So what these women and politicians before her did in history do affect Hong Kong today's condition. If they didn't do it this way, you probably get no chance to do your protests in today's Hong Kong streets. Because if China CCP, their army, attack Hong Kong, no one can stop them. When the Baroness is his title, because his prime minister is a good female leader, so they got Baroness as a noble title from lawyer family, should be from Queen. Her Baroness make the compromise. He went to see Deng Xiaoping and arrange to return Hong Kong, hand over. You can hand over Hong Kong. We hand over Hong Kong to you. And Your Majesty get you Hong Kong as a whole city, not two different parts, not Hong Kong Island, the central and the new territory. They gave it as a whole. This is a compromise. You should find that it's totally agree with the Atlantic agreement, something between British and British PM and U.S. President. They make deal of how to deal with those traditional British colony system, how to break it down, and how to get local people do their local things, govern their own government, choose their own leaders, and get their basic human right, and teach them how to run this system. How can you think British politicians do think they are too stupid to help Hong Kong to set up a democratic system and according to the common law system, and make it those people know how to run it? Do you think it's a terribly hard task that cannot be finished by British governor and Hong Kong people? No, It's absolutely not, because you cannot set up this kind of system when Hong Kong serves as a refugee camp, and when Hong Kong is connected to the mainland. British politicians, you can call them stupid, selfish, but they are not so stupid to leave Hong Kong alone. Hong Kong got to this condition because its history, because its geographical location. Hong Kong is not as India, as Australia, or as Canadians' geographic condition. Hong Kong is Hong Kong. It's the Oriental pearl of the East. It's apart from the day of Opium War, the Qing dynasty, to until today. It's a financial hub of the Asia. This is his history. This is why these women gave you the chance, at least part of the reason you can do your protest in today's Hong Kong streets. Sorry, we waste a little bit time on these women and his former colleague Winston Churchill. We were talking about 39 bodies. Okay, 39 bodies found. They are dead during the human traffic management inside a refrigerated container. Okay, let's see how people celebrate this wonderful women, this wonderful Prime Minister. When she died, people hundreds gathered in Glasgow, Liverpool, and Brixton, quite a few towns, to celebrate the death of Margaret Thatcher. Why? Let's see a little bit the reason. This lovely old woman just holding a paper board, saying "Ding dong." Ding dong must be to Margaret Thatcher. The witch is dead. She is dead. Why? Thatcher's poll tax took place since 1989. Thatcher introduced the poll tax. Its tax is get money from people. So people hate her. So they celebrate when they heard this woman died. And how this article from Independent, it should be a United Kingdom newspaper, medias, that Thatcher respect for the dead is an outdated and a foolish principle. Do you think so? Let's go through what the author want to tell us. This article is A.G. Grilling. He wrote it 2013, 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago. And he said a street party celebrating the death of Bernice Thatcher. And but bad taste and false comparison aside, he do think it's bad taste, and people shouldn't compare PM Baroness Thatcher as a dictator. He didn't work as dictator, so it's bad taste and false comparison. And the standard trope is, the wisdom is, this should be some Latin language, I don't know. The translation to English is, of the dead say nothing but good. Why? Why you shouldn't say something bad to the dead? it's a tradition. Not only our human beings have this tradition, I found these animals have this kind of tradition to respect the dead. This is elephant, maybe somewhere in Africa. They have dead rituals in the animal kingdom. Not only elephant, but chimpanzees, the smartest monkey, and dolphins in ocean. They also have something about death rituals. They respect their dead animal body. So not only human beings but also animals, they got good. If you think our human beings as one piece on the life tree, the huge life tree from single cell to double cells to multiple cells to something mouse, rats, and animals, and to monkey, chimpanzee, and until 100 years ago, evolved into our human beings, Homo sapiens. We actually inherit this kind of tradition from animals kingdom. This elephant, one elephant being called her name, a female elephant being called Elena. He is going to the end of his life, and another elephant accompanied her. And elephant from other groups, they are different group. They are not living one group. They are from different group. Come close to Lena's dead place and accompany her dead body for a few days. You know, it's African. It's African animals. So you got lions, hyenas, and wild dogs and vultures from the sky. But those elephants just accompanied the dead body, and the same thing happened in chimpanzees' world and happened in dolphins' world. So our people, because Margaret Thatcher, he's political. He did political. He made something hurt people, so people celebrate in his funeral days. And at last, this other side, the democratic value of frank expression, it means freedom of speech, make it possible, and absolutely you can do it to celebrate some politic figure's death. But you know, English people got English style of humor. When you cannot understand their humor, you turn their humor into a cold humor. They don't think you're good taste. So good taste is very, very important for British people, British gentlemen and gentlewomen. Respect for the dead is an outdated and foolish principle. He actually tell you different. He tell you you got the freedom of speech, so you can celebrate her dead. Even he is so famous female, and he really make protesting Hong Kong street possible. You can blame him. You can look down her that why you didn't hold on Hong Kong, why you didn't set up the democratic system, why you didn't teach Hong Kong people how to elect their leaders, their own leaders, similar to your British system as member of parliament and things like that. Tell people how to become a member of parliament, and instead of those stupid councillors in your legislative building, which building I don't know. And why? It's all about history. And what we are talking about is 39 people died. 39 people died as human traffickers victim. Maybe we cannot determine if those human traffickers, gangsters, made such terrible things, but yes, I know that you have reason to celebrate, but let's think that maybe you cannot confirm, you cannot prove anyone from those 39 dead bodies before they passed away. They did anything wrong to Hong Kong, they did anything hurt your feeling, and so please respect those 39 dead mainlander Chinese. They must have a reason to. So most people see this white container, they don't think it's a white coffin. And when those 39 people left their hometown, they must have some reasons, different reasons, but they shouldn't be the high officer of CCP. And they just left their hometown, their home country, and went somewhere far away from China, half globe. And they went to the United Kingdom. And got their final fate. So this is the reason, a lot reason that human beings respect same species. And I know that those Hong Kong children, they don't know what's death, and they might think they know it, but they actually don't. And you know that 5 months, 6 months protesting is a long battle, and it's a hard battle. It deserves all kind of respect. And they suffer a lot from those mainland 50 cents bots, trolls, and we know that. We know that you have a reason, same as other people's, because celebration on other people's death is protected by the freedom of speech. And one of your reasons you get those freedom of speech, your ancestors, as we know that today there's 39 dead body. When they are alive, they are just someone along the human traffic chain, far away from China to British. And if you know Hong Kong's history, you know your ancestor generation, your father's generation, your grandfather's generation, they are same human traffic. They are on similar chains of human traffic from mainland to Hong Kong. And after the 1844 Opium War, British won the war, and Qing dynasty collapsed as a corrupt dynasty, and they did made a lot human traffic, not as far as those 39 just finished, but at last they can stand up at the end point. They're close to their end point. So I really want them get respect and rest in peace. Even better, maybe. It depends on their own final judgment from God. Okay, thank you.